Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Once and Future #2. From Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonvillain, Boom Studios. I absolutely loved issue 2, a very thrilling follow-up to issue number 1. Issue number 1 had a great setup. It's basically about this group of people that are trying to resurrect King Arthur, but it turns out King Arthur is kind of like this evil dude and not like what we have in myth and legend, right? So it's a really cool kind of twist on that tale, and it really focuses on this dude who just found out that his grandmother is like part of this long line of people who've been trying to prevent this from happening, making sure it doesn't happen. It really takes that Arthurian legend type stuff and turns it on its head, and it's very exciting. You got the artwork by Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain. Bold, pop-out colors, amazing line work, a great sense of motion and energy is captured in each and every single page of this comic book. I thought issue number 1 was great. It was fantastic. Issue 2 was even better. It really picked up the pace, sped that momentum along, and really explained a lot without being exposition-y or anything like that. Like I said, solid story, great characters, amazing artwork, just a really cool concept. It's really, really fun. It's like the best parts of things like Indiana Jones and the Goonies and stuff like that. It's like the best part of all that kind of like questy, legendary type stuff, all thrown into one exciting package. I absolutely loved it. Some fantastic books are out this new comic book day, but for me, Once and Future #2 stands just a little bit above and beyond. Let's jump over to Marvel Comics real quick. Got a new Spider-Man book this week. It's a 5-issue miniseries. Spider-Man. This is the one we've been talking about by J.J. Abrams and his son Henry. It's Henry, right? Pretty sure it's, yeah, Henry. Sarah Pichelli on the artwork, Dave Stewart on the coloring. So you gotta, I haven't been the biggest Pichelli fan of the last few years, but this is some really solid work for her, especially with Dave Stewart's coloring. The story is really interesting. I also want to point out this Chip Kidd die-cut cover. I'm always a sucker for a good die-cut cover. Anyway, this Spider-Man book, J.J. Abrams and his kid, I was not looking forward to this one. I knew I'd check it out because I definitely want to review it here on the channel. I was pleasantly surprised. There's a lot more to this book than what they were leading into in the solicitations. If you've avoided the spoilers, I encourage you to do so because it'd probably be a really fun, like, shocking reaction to what this book is about, what happens in this book. But it's pretty good. I actually really liked it. The dialogue was good, the artwork was good, the story was good, the concept of it was cool. It's a 5-issue series. I liked it. I was not expecting to, but I really, really did. I thought it was a really cool new chapter in Spider-Man lore. I don't know. I really liked it. Spider-Man #1 out from Abrams, Pichelli's, all that stuff. Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda #1 is out this week. So this one spins out of the pages of the Avengers. Black Panther, of course, is the chairman of the Avengers, and he's got this secret team that's kind of like going around internationally, taking care of things before they like grow bigger or keeping tabs of other things, stuff like that. Gorilla Man, the Wasp, Okoye, Kazar, a few other characters, right? The book itself, it's a cool, strong concept, but it doesn't really do much for me in execution. It's written by Jim Zub, Lan Medina on the artwork. The artwork's okay. It just feels a little rushed, a little kind of thrown together. The story just didn't really grab me, didn't really hook me in. The characters didn't really seem to gel or work together very well. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda #1, though, is out this week. House of X #5 is here. The penultimate issue of House of X. So this is one of the ones that had like the red highlight at the back of the reading order. If you notice, certain issues have that red highlight, like issue #2, which was the big Moira reveal. So what does this one reveal? Well, it reveals a lot. It reveals a lot about, you can kind of see where this is going. If you've been reading the last couple issues of Powers and House, it's amazing. I love the cover. Does Apocalypse show up? Indeed. He does. Lots of revelations, some real fun stuff. Pepe Larraz has been pumping out some fantastic artwork, and Hickman continues this world rebuilding of the X-Men, and I thought that I had a good gist on where this story was going. All my theories, I think, are completely shot out of the window now. I have no idea. And that's one of the best parts of House of X and Powers of 10 is that Hickman's reimagining, rebuilding the world of the X-Men, and we're all just loving it. New school fans, old school fans, we're all just eating it up, talking about it, discussing it. I don't know. I am more than sold on House of X, Powers of 10, and what comes beyond. But House of X number 5 is awesome. You want to get a hold of it before the spoilers start getting out there. Because with what's revealed in that issue, that's a lot of possibility that comes out of that. Absolute Carnage arrives this week with issue number 3. A very fun and exciting issue of Absolute Carnage so far. It doesn't feel as meaty or as dense as some of the ones that came before, but some big stuff does happen here, some big fun stuff as well. But I'm really loving what Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman and company are doing right now in Absolute Carnage. They're kind of taking a horrific approach to it, honoring and respecting the goofball Carnage stories from before, the great Carnage stories from before. It's all wrapped up, and like this is just a nice love letter to Carnage and Eddie and just all the symbiote family basically. But I'm loving it so much. It has like a great like heavy metal edge to it. It's fun, like I said, it's horror inspired. Lots of big moments, especially in this issue. The ending is going to make some people be like, what? Real fun stuff. Absolute Carnage number 3 out this week, as well as Absolute Carnage Lethal Protectors number 2. So in issue number 2, they kind of get the idea a little bit more across that what's going on is to go against the new Demogoblin. If you don't know who the new Demogoblin is, and if you're a fan of old school stuff, especially like Maximum Carnage, you're going to love it. In fact, if you're a fan of Maximum Carnage, you definitely might want to check out reading Lethal Protectors, because you remember how Spider-Man and Venom had all that help back in the day in Maximum Carnage, Iron Fist, Firestar, Morbius, you know, Cloak and Dagger. That's what this is. So Misty Knight, this kind of Frank Thierry, the writer, is picking up on threads from the Cult of Carnage one-shot that he did. Misty Knight has been captured by the Cult of Carnage. J. Jonah Jameson's wolf-bitten son is involved as well. Really cool, fun stuff, and I'm loving these Smallwood connecting covers. But it's not the most essential or absolutely necessary tie-in to Absolute Carnage, but it's really fun because of that connection and the throwbacks. And if you want to know what's up with this new Demogoblin, that's the book you definitely want to be reading this week. Guardians of the Galaxy number 9. Donny Cates and company are really heating up to something big happening in Guardians of the Galaxy across all of Donny Cates' cosmic books, to be honest with you. I really like this issue, a nice turn in the story. I'm eager to see how this is all going to like shake out and see what's actually going to basically happen, how it's going to set up whatever this new Annihilation Scourge stuff is or whatever. I'm sure it's all tied together. Something big is happening, right? And Donny Cates has been building it up in his cosmic theme books for a while now. Even though they do feel a little disjointed, I do get the sense that there's this overall arcing purpose. I don't know if it's all tied into Null or anything like that. This is just speculation, whatever. But Guardians of the Galaxy number 9, a real fun issue. Donny Cates, I believe that 12 is supposed to be his final issue, but who knows? Maybe we'll see what happens after all that. But it doesn't feel like he's heading towards a definitive ending yet, but still just setting things up. Right now, though, Guardians of the Galaxy is fun. I'm really liking it. Some really crazy things are happening in here involving the Magus, or is it the Magus? It's the Magus. I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy number 9 out this week. Jane Foster Valkyrie number 3, weakest issue of the series yet. Started off very strong. In this issue, you basically do, as the cover alludes to, go through the multiverse of the afterlife. And that's kind of a cool, interesting concept. They use different art for each little bit in there, and it kind of feels a little disjointed because of it. But also because the overall narration kind of took me out of the flow of the story, so it kind of felt a little disjointed there as far as the captions went, along with the images and the flow of the story. It just felt a little stilted for me, but still a solid book. 1 and 2 are really great. 3 was just a little bit of a step down for me. Jane Foster Valkyrie number 3 out this week. And look, the penultimate issue of Dead Man Logan. This feels like this has been a long time coming, and I'm still not ready for it to be over, because Ed Brisson's been doing an amazing job on the character of Old Man Logan on this book since he's taken over after Jeff Lemire left. Feels like ages ago. One more issue left in what's supposed to be the definitive death of Wolverine, or at least that version of Wolverine from, Mark Millar's story with Steve McNiven, Old Man Logan. Anyway, really liking it. This book is so much fun. Big, exciting things are happening in here. And you could almost call it like the first appearance of something, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Lots of that running around in comics, especially in the pages of Marvel this week, by the way. But Dead Man Logan, just like it has been before, a very solid, action-packed, really good, grounded comic book. I'm loving it. It's going to be sad. There's only 1 issue left. What's the future? Are they really killing Logan? Are they going to end the story of Old Man Logan? Which could be good. All good things. Right? You know what I'm saying? History of the Marvel Universe number 3 is here. This is the issue that focuses on the dawn of the Marvel Age of Comics. So Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Hulk, the Avengers, all that stuff. And what's really cool is if you're not quite so up to date or whatever. Mark Waid does an excellent job of making the timeline very meticulous, doing his research and filling it through. So if you want to know exactly what order these things happened in, Fantastic Four, into Hulk, into Ant-Man, into Spider-Man, into this, into that, it's all laid out for you here with beautiful artwork by Javier Rodriguez, Alvaro Lopez. This fantastic book. I'm loving it so much. A nice crash course in the history of the Marvel Universe. Star Wars Age of Resistance has 2 out. We got Rey and we got Rose Tycho. They're okay. They're interesting. They're cool. But there's nothing really game-changing or new information or super revelatory or whatever. I don't know. They're fun, decent stuff. So if you like the new Resistance-era movies of Star Wars, definitely be checking these out if you haven't. But, you know, they're not going to change any opinions or anything like that. Let's jump over to DC Comics. Flash Forward. #1 out this week. It's written by Scott Lobdell. Lobdell with Brett Booth on the artwork. It's actually not that bad. I was not anticipating this one. Scott Lobdell, for me, is kind of a little up and down. Wally West, I don't know. I did not like Heroes in Crisis, and so I am eager to see what DC's going to be trying to do with the character Wally West post Heroes in Crisis. Well, this is it, Flash Forward, and it's really cool, actually. It's kind of a multiversal threat. Wally's actually going through some interesting stuff that, to me, is a little bit more well thought out and executed than some of the stuff in Heroes in Crisis. Just felt a little sudden, soon, disjointed, out of character. This one kind of fits a little bit more into a grounded take on Wally dealing with all of this stuff. I love the multiversal connection. It's kind of a bigger story than I initially thought it was going to be. So that's kind of cool. Brett Booth's artwork is very 90s, and if you like Brett Booth, you'll like this. If you don't like Brett Booth, I don't think it's going to change your opinion of him. But Flash Forward was interesting, and I really hope that this kind of resets. Not saying that it should be like a book of redemption for Wally or anything like that, but I'd like to get back to Wally West, because this has been a character that seems to be in limbo since Rebirth, right? They've just not quite figured out where to place Wally, and they keep trying things, and it just doesn't fit. So maybe this is, I'm not saying this is the fit, but maybe this is like shaving some of the sides off of the peg to make it fit in the hole better. I don't know. Does that make sense? Flash Forward #1 out this week. Inferior Five #1 is out this week. This book was first announced like 2 years ago, and it's just now coming out. Anyway, Keith Giffen and Jeff Lemire kind of reinventing the Inferior Five, which were a ragtag team of not really superheroes from the 60s. Giffen apparently loves these characters, wants to do it. It's kind of set up as a sequel to the original Invasion story, and it is set in the 80s. So it's got that typical Jeff Lemire sense that you usually like in his writing, but it's not quite all there. But what's really nice is at the very end of it, there's a Peacemaker story by Jeff Lemire that's also drawn by him, as well as this cover. So it's interesting and it's cool, but it just feels oddly placed, oddly timed, and just kind of out of nowhere. But I'm interested in seeing how the story unfolds, because it does feel very Jeff Lemire-esque. Of course it is, because it's written by him. It's got some interesting ideas. I like the take, but it's just, something just felt like it didn't quite fit in that one. DC Year, the Villain Lex Luthor. It's a one-shot. So you would think if any of these Year the Villain one-shots would be like essential to the actual story of what's going on in Justice League and the Doom Justice War, it would be this one. Maybe focus in on something about Lex Luthor that's crazy. And it does focus on an aspect of this that maybe could lead into something. And, you know, there could be, I think there's something set up in here that leads to what's going, some stuff. Right? But overall, the story's okay. It doesn't feel completely connected in or quite essential. It's basically Lex going across the multiverse to different versions of himself to make sure that there's not going to be one out there who could stop him from doing what he's trying to do. Because if anybody could stop Lex, it would be Lex, right? So I like that idea. The book itself's pretty neat, seeing a bunch of different versions of Lex from across the multiverse. It just wasn't completely super as connected as I wanted it to be, but I did like it, and I really think the ending of this sets up some stuff to come, is what I think. Speaking of that big story, Justice League is here with issue number 32. They've been cranking out Justice League. I'm loving it. Justice Doom War, it's really heating up. It's cranking up. You got the JSA going on. You got Commandy in here. You got DC 1 million. That's right, Justice Legion A. I'm loving it. So many Grant Morrison references in this one, by the way, and it's awesome. And I'm just currently rereading Grant Morrison's JLA for an upcoming episode of Comics Revisited, and it's just perfect synchronicity. right? Absolutely. Anyway, Justice League, I'm loving what Tiny and Snyder and company are doing on this. Howard Porter's got some really fun artwork in here. Really great stuff. Just keeps building up, building up, building up. New turns, new revelations, all that kind of stuff. It's really coming to a head, and it ain't even over yet. Justice League number 32 out this week. Batman 79, City of Bane. This one's probably going to be another one that disappoints people. It doesn't get to the shocker that happened a couple issues ago. It's focused in on Batman, Catwoman, them rebuilding their relationship, their connection. Not as good as the issue before. I thought this one was a little bit weaker. I thought that basically these two issues, I think that this issue almost already said what was said in the last issue. It just felt like it just kind of elongated it sometimes. And that seems to be one of the biggest criticisms, especially from me, about Tom King's Batman run. It's just a little inconsistent, especially in its pacing. It feels like it wastes too much time sometimes. This kind of feels like a wasted issue. I don't know. That's just me. Batman 79 still up and down all over the place. That's for me. Superman number 15 is here, though. I guess this is finally the end of this whole Unity saga type thing. And now, reading this, it's kind of a satisfying conclusion, but a lot of it came out of nowhere. And I really feel like we should have been reading Supergirl this whole time. And here's the thing. I've been told that there were big things being revealed in the pages of Supergirl. We all knew that, but we still weren't reading it. So to me, that's kind of a poor decision in story making, to have big revelations be done in a book that's not, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I digress, right? It's satisfactory, though, I will say. Like, where Bendis kind of ends this whole first initial arc on Superman is kind of satisfactory, mostly because of Ivan Reyes' artwork. It's absolutely splendid. It's amazing. It's big. It's epic. It's and the way that some things come back full circle, I found to be very fun, right? And this is where you're going to get your Legion of Superheroes. If you were disappointed in Millennium number 1, here you go. You got plenty of Legion of Superheroes in here. I like this setup. It just felt like it was a long time and a long way around to get to basically what I think Bendis is trying to do, which was set up the future of the Legion of Superheroes. I don't know. I am going to sit down, though, and do a big, massive Bendis Superman rereading one day. Not anytime super soon, but one day. But it's okay. I'll say that. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, number 3 is here. This book is so fun. I love it so much. It's not your typical comic book. It's really fun, but it takes itself very seriously. It's got an amazing, complex structure to it. For a humor comic, especially a humor mystery comic with a very complex structure, I'm loving it. Fraction, Lieber, and company doing an amazing job on this book. I typically hate Jimmy Olsen and just do not like him, or I just usually just don't even care. You know what I'm saying? Even the Jack Kirby stuff, I'm only halfway invested in. You know what I'm saying? And that's just because of some cool Cadmus and Fourth World type stuff. Anyway, this Jimmy Olsen book is cracking me up. I'm loving it. I love the tone of this book. It's not anything like anything else on shelves. And to me, that's amazing. Matt Fraction, Lieber, Fairburn, hats off to you. Fantastic work. Aquaman number 52 is out this week. Aquaman number 52. Kelly Sue DeConnick's kind of taking her own approach to the character of Aquaman, making it a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more fantastical, a little bit more swashbuckling, and I'm cool with it. I'm all right with it. Me, personally, I still do want to see the orange and green Aquaman doing Aquaman things, kind of struggling, being a superhero and a king and all that kind of stuff. But I'm down for this direction because I like the art, I like the characterization, I like the flow of each story, the artwork's great, I like this new mythology that's being laid into the already existing lore of Aquaman. But Aquaman's pretty cool, and those Middleton covers continue to just astound me. Let's jump over to Dark Horse Comics. Steeple number 1 is a new one out this week. I really like it. Look at the artwork there on the cover. If you're not into like independent cartoonish type artwork like this, you're not going to really like this book, I think, but I really did enjoy this book. It has a really cool story. It's basically about this woman who goes, I think they're part of the Church of England, and she goes to this town, this like coastal town or something like that, and there's all kinds of weird craziness going on. It's really, really fun. I really like this book. Anyway, she goes there to help out the local priest, but there's more going on than just, helping out the needs of the community. Their needs of this community are a little bit more comic booky, if I should say. But anyway, Steeple was actually really cool. I liked it. It had a nice charm to it, a nice lightheartedness, but it took itself very seriously. The characters were very fleshed out and realized. The artwork was very fun, and it really complemented the story that was being told. Steeple #1 was something I really, really enjoyed. Dark Horse has a hell of a week this week. Strayed #2 is out this week. I loved the first issue of Strayed, and I love the second issue. There's a lot of information in this one. Big info dumps, but the layouts by Wando, the artwork, the coloring, everything about it is so amazing. I love this book. It's basically this woman makes a machine in which it translates her cat's thoughts into English language for her to listen to, and she finds out her cat can astral project, and now the government or some kind of corporation or something has this cat and this woman, and they're forcing this cat to astral project, looking for worlds to exploit. So it's got some real cool, heart-tugging moments in it. It's got some really neat, fantastical comic book, sci-fi type moments to it, and it's just a flat-out great story and a fantastic comic book experience. Strayed #2 does not disappoint. If you liked issue #1, you'll love issue #2. Black Hammer: Age of Doom #12. This sadly brings a conclusion to the Farm Black Hammer saga. Basically what Jeff Lemire is calling Phase 1. There is more stuff coming. What's going to be the big thing to tie it all together? I don't know. There's plenty of room in this universe to tell stories. That's what Lemire and company have been doing since Black Hammer first came out. But I am sad to see this whole initial arc with the farm and those heroes kind of go away and be sad. I mean, but it's a very satisfactory conclusion. It makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. It's got a lot of heart to it. But it is just kind of man, I wanted to stick with these characters for a good long while longer. But we still get to stay in the world. Remember, Jeff Lemire says this is just the end of Phase 1 of the Black Hammer universe. So we'll see what exactly that means. Hellboy and the BPRD, Saturn Returns #2. This one's kind of all over the place. It's nice because it does fill in some nice little character gaps at times for longtime Hellboy fans, but I don't think this is going to do much for you if you're a new fan trying to get into some Hellboy stories and lore to sink your teeth into. It kind of feels a little disjointed all over the place and a little too specific in what it's trying to do. I don't know. Hellboy, though, is a great comic book. It's coming up in Comics Revisited this year, too. In fact, on Halloween, that episode about Hellboy goes live. Anyway, Saturn Returns #2 is out this week. Aftershock Comics presents You Are Obsolete #1. This one was not a perfect comic, but it was a really great issue #1. A really neat story. I really liked it. It's about this town that's kind of basically run by the children. And it seems, from what I'm reading so far, that all the adults die as soon as they turn 40. Well, that's a really cool, look into just the dread of approaching 40, stuff like that. But it's really creepy, and it's got a nice tone to it. The artwork at times isn't quite 100% carry that tone across, but it does get the job done when it does it, and it does it well at times. But the story was really, really strong. This book is creepy. It is uneasy. It's unnerving. I really like this one. I liked it a lot. It's a little bit like a more modernized Children of the Corn or something like that. I'm loving it. And it's also it says a lot about modern technology and addiction to screens and stuff like that. But this book was something really cool. You Are Obsolete #1 out this week. From Vault Comics, we have Test #4. A lot is explained in issue #4 of Test, and it's still very confusing. You get to the end of this, and you're like, wait, what? And that's what I love about this book. It's dense. It's got so many layers. I just recently reread 1, 2, and 3 because the more you read this, the more you pick up on what's going on, the more it becomes clear. Aleph's journey, They've gone into places I haven't expected this book to go into. It's weird. It's metaphysical at times. It says a lot about society, the need for the obsession with consumerism or just getting the new fix, the new gadget. It says a lot about addiction. It says a lot about corporations and how far how much people will be willing to give up as far as privacy goes to have access to certain technology and things like that. It says a whole lot, and the story itself is also very intricate and complex and dense, and it's just masterful. Jen Hickman, their artwork is absolutely the best I've ever seen from them. Christopher Sabella, this is one of the best Sabella comics I've ever read. Then, of course, you got Hassan Otsman El-Hal and Harry Saxon. Both of them absolutely splendid as the letterer and the colorist. It all works together. It's such an amazing and different and challenging experience. Test number 4 out this week. Also from Vault Cult Classic, Return to Whisper. This is the final issues, if you will. So what would have been issues 4 and 5 all in one nice double feature. A very kind of very like filled with different climaxes. It's a really satisfying conclusion, but it kind of all happened all at once, and it was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was hard to keep up. One of my biggest problems with this book is that it was hard to keep up with certain threads at certain times, but when you read it all together in one sitting, it actually irons itself out a lot better. But Return to Whisper was the first book from Cult Classic and Elliot Rahal at Vault. I'm really excited for Creature Feature, what's coming up. There'll be an advanced review of that popping soon. But Return to Whisper, I really enjoyed it. Think of it kind of like It meets the Goonies in a little bit of way, with a lot of mystery, lots of craziness, and just a really like, wow ending, like lots of stuff, just kind of all the dominoes. It was all set and they all fell at once. That's what happened there. From Image Comics, I only read one Image book this week, and it was Middle West. Middle West number 11. I said that number 10 was probably the best issue of the series, and it feels like now the series is going to be cranking out some of the best issues, period, of the series, because number 11 was a fantastic follow-up, not only to the entire series, but of course issue number 10, and a great setup for the storyline to come. I'm really digging this one right now. Scotty Young, Jorge Corona, absolutely an amazing comic book. It's fantasy, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It's a story about humans. It's a story about emotions. It's a story about what stories are supposed to be about. It's about a kid running away and afraid that he's going to make the same mistakes that his father and his father before him made. It's a story of isolation. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of hope. It's a story of despair. I'm absolutely in love with Middle West. Issue number 11 out this week, and it's fantastic. Show's End, number 2 from Mad Cave Studios. Issue number 1 was cool. It was a decent setup. I really liked it. It's basically about this traveling freak show, type thing back in the day. I think in the 20s or something like that. This little girl runs away from home. Turns out she's also a monster, some kind of like werewolfy type thing. Not a werewolf, but something else, something like that, right? She winds up finding refuge with this band of traveling freak show, right? Or something like that. But issue number 2, whoa, way better than issue number 1. Now, I'm not saying issue number 1 was bad. I thought issue number 1 was good. Issue number 2 was fantastic. Issue number 2 was great. It took all these threads that were built up to such perfect tension in issue number 1, and it really just started resonating those out and working everything. The action, the mystery, the horror, the suspense, the tragedy, the comedy, the human element. It's all in here, and it all is resonating pitch perfectly. Show's End number 2. Fantastic comic book. I absolutely love this book now. It's Anthony Cleveland is the writer, Jeff Szynski, the artist, Julian Gonzalez, and Justin Birch rounding out that team. I haven't really read too much Mad Cave stuff. Show's End was... Issue number 1 was good. Issue number 2 was... This is one of the best comic books of the week for me. Show's End number 2. Probably like number 2 or number 3 pick of the week. I gotta think about it. Anyway, from Ahoy Comics, we have Second Coming, number 3. This book has some really exceptional moments, some of the best moments in this series. You already know what this is about, and if you don't, it's about God's kind of disappointed in Jesus, so he sends him down basically to learn from a Superman-type figure how he's kind of expecting him to act. But it's really starting to pick up more and more nuance as the story goes. Of course, it's an irreverent, satirical piece of humor, but it also is just really picking up this nuance as it's going on, and it's really starting to hit some really deep chords emotionally inside the characters. And I really think it's doing an absolutely splendid job. There are moments in here that will make you laugh. There are moments in here that will make you want to cry, at least for me. Second Coming, number 3, splendid. Loving that book. And also, finally, let's talk about it. Umbrella Academy Book 3 is out. So, if you watched The Umbrella Academy on Netflix and you loved it, and then you went out and you got Book 1 and Book 2, and you've been eagerly waiting for Hotel Oblivion to finally come out in graphic novel form, there it is. It's here. And it's fantastic. It's a great book, so I highly encourage you to check it out. So that's what I read, and that's what I thought about it. Some excellent comic books out today. What are you thinking about reading? What are you excited for? What are you loving? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do join us over at patreon.com/PCP, where you can unlock exclusive content, early access, and the PCP After Hours podcast for sure. We really do appreciate everything. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and check out our podcast at popculturephilosophers.com. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.